On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, we head to the Capital Region for another Academy profile, and we slide headfirst into tracking Alberta talent in U.S. colleges. Welcome to Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We want to start this week's episode by congratulating the four newest members of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame: Jason Bay, Ryan Dempster, Rob Thompson, and Gord Ash. A couple of the inductees have connections here in Alberta. Dempster pitched in 5 games for the Calgary Cannons back in 1999. He posted a 1-1 record with a 4.99 ERA and was clearly pretty good at the time as he struck out 29 batters in just over 30 innings of work for the Cannons. And Gord Ash was the mastermind of the Toronto Blue Jays for many years as GM and came to Medicine Hat quite regularly to check in on some of the talent he had drafted who were playing for the Baby Jays. That included Orlando Hudson and Alex Rios. Again, congratulations to all four who will be inducted this summer in Ontario. We also want to take a moment to wish Bob Elliott the very best and a speedy recovery after he collapsed at the Okotoks Dogs Academy Awards Banquet and Fundraiser over the weekend. The well-known baseball writer was just starting his keynote address to the crowd when it all happened. Moving on now, let's continue our 1-9 series by taking a look at Prospects Academy. If you head over to albertadugoutstories.com, you can read more on the Edmonton Area Academy. I also spoke with Jordan Blundell recently about what they had to offer and more. Let's talk about the beginning days of Prospects Academy and where was it born out of, who came up with the idea, and how long has it been front and center in the Edmonton area?
Well, it's been a decade plus now that the idea kind of came up from a group of people that saw a need to provide kids the opportunity to pursue the game year round, and the buzzword of single sport stuff and trying to do multiple sports. We as we do in the academy now, we do mix in football and soccer and some things like that. But the idea came from the desire of the student athlete to pursue it more seriously and spend more time crafting their game. Kind of like the supply and demand. It wasn't that, hey, we're doing this, you have to do this. There was people kind of clamoring for the opportunity, and it was born out of an idea from it's a large area up here. There was a lot of kids that were kind of doing it on their own and trying to find ways to get better in the off seasons and weren't pursuing multiple sports. Like I said, the supply and demand was there. Coach Houston kind of started this up with a couple other partners in the beginning, and it's grown from there. We've had an indoor facility, and things kind of went sideways there, just financially with the size of the building and some of the other issues attached with paying the rent. The baseball stuff was fine. It was trying to find other tenants for this, and so the program evolved into working with Belrose High School in St. Albert. Was a great relationship with that, and then still is. The kids that we have that aren't from the area attend Belrose. They helped suit up the second gym there with some cages for us, and we got some turf down and created a training center and an environment to succeed in. The weight room was on site. It was upstairs, so you really got that team chemistry. You can hear guys hooting and hollering upstairs when they're putting weight up, and guys down below working on honing their craft in the cage and on the tees, and doing bullpen work, getting the mounds out, having video going. So it was a real special situation there, and from that the program grew. Originally it was a one team, kind of grade 10, 11, 12. I don't think elite's the right word, but it was the kids that wanted to pursue the game seriously and viewed college baseball as a dream and an option. It just so happened that there were a lot of good players that had that dream. So there were some good players that had come through here, as always, but especially in the beginning. And for us, fortunately enough, the program's grown. We have 3 teams kind of a third and a half team that we do in the spring for some younger kids that want to get going a little bit earlier than some of the club ball stuff. And aside to that, we've got a whole group of kids that join us in just workouts. It's the junior prospects, and that age range is 10, 11, all the way up to 14, and same idea. We go a couple times a week, and we provide instruction, and the kids provide the energy and the enthusiasm, and we have a blast. There's lots of high fives. There's lots of laughs. We try and find a way to teach them while still having fun, which is not a big challenge. We love doing that as coaches. I mean, we have a blast with the young kids. It's cool to see their enthusiasm for the game and their willingness to compete and get better, on a Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. So it's been really cool for me to join into the program, and it's a really special thing that Cam and some of the coaches before me created.
It's one of those things, as you mentioned with the coaches, is that these are some high-level guys. I mean, you have the Mike Johnsons, the Cam Houstons. I mean, these guys have been around the game a long time. How important is it for you guys to be able to bring that experience and that expertise to the table for these young players? And this is expertise that maybe the coaches didn't necessarily have when they were growing up through the system.
Well, exactly. It's a situation where obviously Mike's resume speaks for itself. He's done pretty much everything you can do in the game for a youth from Sherwood Park to do. His rapport with the pitchers is second to none. It's just great. The guys feed off of what his ability to communicate is all about. And with his experience and you're getting the goods as a player. And then with Cam, it's a situation where Cam and I were where these kids were 20 years ago. We wanted to pursue this at another level outside of high school here in this community, and Cam had a hugely successful college baseball career. He was a preseason All-American. He put up video game numbers when he was down there. It was a situation where there was, an outside shot that he was going to get a chance to pursue the game, and he was actually pretty good on the mound as well. And then kind of a knee thing derailed his ability to keep going. And sometimes when you play the game hard, things happen, and we kind of seen that a little bit with what Larry Walker's going through. He didn't play all the games he could have because he played the game hard, and he got dinged up every once in a while. So. Cam was in the same boat. Like I said, he had a really successful college career. And his love for the game and his ability to, purvey that to the kids. The kids feed off that. It's, like the same thing with Mike is they know Cam has, accomplished some things as a player and accomplished some things as a coach and a developer and, a mentor for guys. And he's had a lot of success with a lot of players and helped them further their game down into the U.S. and in some instances into some of the Canadian schools. And, the kids have had success, and success kind of breeds more success. And, when you come into the program, it's low maintenance. We have some expectations of the players that, you come in with the right mindset, and we talk about having the right attitude to, try and get a little better today. What are we working on? What's our goal for today? And, we work hard to try and help those players achieve that. At the end of the day, it's their game. It's the players' game, and they need to take responsibility for their, ability to improve. But, we're there beside them trying to do whatever we can to help facilitate that.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've heard over and over and over again through these conversations is developing not just good baseball players, but good human beings and young adults. And talk about that aspect of things as you guys go about your business.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, when you talk to college coaches or anyone that's looking to pursue a player that we have, the first thing that they ask is, what kind of player, what kind of person is he? How is he in school? And coaches like the catchphrase glue guy and hard worker, and you're not going to have a problem with him, coach. And those are some of the things that we explain to the players that are important qualities that, when we make the first phone call and we're trying to promote you, that's what gets asked first. And then what kind of athlete is he? What kind of baseball player is he? what positions can he play? Is he just a one-trick guy? Is he stuck at this position, or is he multi-dimensional? And to be able to tell a coach that from us and over the years you build up some credibility with programs that they get a player from you and it works out, that they'll make the call again every year and find out who else do you have. The kids that end up going down somewhere or get an opportunity somewhere, they're carrying the torch for the kids that are 3 or 4 years younger. If they go in and represent themselves properly and represent the program they're joining first class, then it's an easy phone call for that coach to make to us to find out who's next. It looks the kids understand that. It's not something that you need to convince them of. They get it. The kids are well aware of the opportunities ahead of them with everything at their fingertips on their phone. They can seek out all this information on their own. And they understand that when we get our guys back at Christmas break and a 20-year-old's kind of hanging out with a 14-year-old, hitting on the tee with them, and they high five or they kind of share some information or share some knowledge, that kind of bond is priceless. And then now that 14-year-old player understands that I could be like this person. I look up to this person, and they're willing to put some time in with me. And when I see that as a coach, it lights me up a little bit. That's what the game's about. Is passing on knowledge, sharing knowledge, and it's your job to apply that. And that's kind of where the trick is. You can share the knowledge, and then, perhaps that particular player isn't able to execute it. At the end of the day, it's what you do with that knowledge that gives you the opportunity in the funnel system as we go up levels. So. The fact that the players that we have come back are like that with our young guys is special.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, that not only are they giving back in the baseball community, but they also seem to be giving back at a community level, too. And I know in talking to the different programs already is that's been a big staple of theirs, and having the community buy into the program. And I think St. Albert's, it sounds as though they've done the same thing with what Prospects Academy is all about.
Totally. Our relationship with Salma is unique, and it's special that we can have that kind of relationship with a minor baseball organization. Our guys are field crew workers during the day. Our guys, help out with Challenger baseball on Monday nights and give back to the community in that way. Last year, we helped a local school build this super awesome playground. I can't even believe this playground. It was amazing. I wanted to stay there myself and put some time in on all the jungle gym apparatus. It was something special, and it was kind of funny when we're trying to set up, this multi-level IKEA type playground, and I'm no good at that kind of stuff. And you kind of figure out which players maybe have a little bit of an engineering mindset, and which players are more, give me the nail, I'll hammer it in. And it's fun to see the guys kind of come together and figure out and problem solve outside of a baseball environment. And then, our benefit to that is we get that team building, that team bonding, that camaraderie. And on top of that, we're able to give back into the community that's done a lot for us as a baseball program. So it's always a win-win situation. And selfishly, we feel like we get more out of those kind of events than the program or the area that we're helping. So it's been great that way. Like I said, St. Albert's been tremendous with us, first-class organization, and they've supported us through 10 plus years of doing this. So we're really lucky to have them as a partner with what we're doing.
And one of the things, too, that you're able to do sort of as a selfish aside on this, in a sense, is that you get to see some of the up-and-coming talent for even something as simple as the Edmonton Prospects Western Canadian Baseball League team as well. What does that add to your abilities as somebody who's involved in both sides?
Well, it's kind of a natural progression for the players to, work themselves up into competitive summer collegiate baseball. As a college player, that's another part of the funnel system. There's, 1,500 college baseball teams. There's only 500 summer league teams that are doing it at that kind of really competitive level where, You're playing every night, 7:05 starts, anthems, and all that kind of stuff with the crowd. The fact that we have that level of baseball in this community only provides the opportunity for players to dream and dream bigger and know that they're capable of reaching that level. Every year there's local players that climb the ranks and become players with the WCBL team and get in that league. And, if you came out of Sherwood Park or Samba or Seba or any of the programs around here, Parkland, and you catch a game as a 13-year-old and you recognize a player that was on the midget AAA team 2 years ago that you watched a game on, it links up the idea in your mind that that's achievable. It's possible for you to also be that player if you so desire and you're willing to, sacrifice and put the work in to take your game to that level. For myself as a recruiter and now the manager of the ball club, yeah, you know what? It's a bonus that I get to kind of be around all the local players and watch them develop and see who they are as people and figure out, if down the line they're going to be a potential fit and identifying them and, bantam and then early midget and then grade 12 year and, maybe into their freshman, sophomore year to be able to keep tabs and stay connected with the coaches that they grew up with is completely valuable for us in the recruiting process. It is a winning league. We are trying to help kids develop, but we also have an eye on, performing things for our fans and winning baseball games is part of that. So the fact that we can identify players from around here and potentially build a roster around some of the guys here and supplement them with, players born outside this area is special for us. The fact that we have so many good young players here is sometimes tough to decide, which player fits in your roster for the WCBL team. I mean, we could have a full roster of local players, but we're trying to push that level of compete up and make it so that you really need to earn your spot with that ball club. That starts grade 9, grade 10. You start get an eye on the prize down the line and into your early collegiate years and you do your best to give yourself the best opportunity to be selected for that.
What does a name like Eric Sabrowski do for a program like yours, a guy who gets drafted as he did and is getting as many accolades as he has?
I think it just Eric's a special kid. He's always been a special kid. I think we were just part of the process for Eric. And we didn't create Eric. He created himself, and we were kind of just lucky enough to be a part of that ride with him. Obviously we've put a lot of time in with that player, and Eric's put a lot of time in outside of being with us. The fact that he's having the success and the recognition and the opportunity at professional baseball is a dream come true for him, and as a program, it's a dream come true for us. We do this to help provide kids the lessons and the experience that we had at those ages, and how much fun I had playing college baseball, and the fact that I'm still close with multiple teammates I had back when I played in the early 2000s, and we still communicate to this day. Sometimes it's daily. If players that are pursuing this game and trying to get to the highest level they can get to experience some of the things that I personally got to have with the friendships and the memories, that's mission accomplished for us. And the fact that Eric has now kind of exceeded those and he's going to get a chance at pro ball, it's just exciting. We turn into, at one point we were coaches and, sometimes hard on a player, sometimes trying to motivate a player, sometimes, soft or whatever we need to be to help that player today to achieve his goals. Now we get to turn into fans. Mm-hmm. And, we're hopeful that Eric has to put a whole bunch of tickets aside at some point to get us down to see him play in the big, right?
Agreed. Final question for you. What defines success to you when it comes to Prospects Academy and the players that are coming through?
I think success for us is that the players value what they've learned with us, that the players have a great time, that they build some friendships within the program, that they create lasting friendships that will be there longer than the 3 or 4 years that they play high school baseball, that they're able to remain in the game and give back as they enter adulthood and turn into, peewee coaches, midget coaches, whatever it may be. The fact that they're willing to give back to their local organization and help with a camp or, coach their own kids at some point and at the low levels and bring those kids up and sharing that knowledge and being willing to, give up some of their time for that. I think that's success for us. Having players achieve, great things in the game is obviously special. We have some other players that are kind of knocking on the door, maybe getting an opportunity in pro baseball like Eric. That's great for us too. We don't want to discount that. That kind of is what this is all about, is to help kids get as high up as they can and set your goals high, and you never know, you might just get there. But I think the lasting impact of our program is what we do in the community. Our relationship with Samba, the fact that a lot of our players end up getting into the game as coaches once they're done their college career, that they're willing to come back and put time in. I think that's what the program is about. I think that's the special part of the community that the prospects have created around the past players, the present players, and then the future players that are looking for baseball to be an avenue for them. That they know that, this program has been around a long time. There's, a ton of players. I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 75 that have gone on to pursue college baseball and got a degree and made lasting friendships all over North America, where, down the line they can go back to an alumni game in Texas or South Carolina or Kansas and meet up with players 10 years after they played. And, that whole process kind of started with us is what makes the game special. It's a really small community. There's a lot of people in it, but, at the end of the day, it's a pretty small community, and, we're happy to be a part of it in the greater Edmonton area, and we're really fortunate that we have the kids that we do.
Jordan, I appreciate the time and the insights into Prospects Academy, and all the best in the coming season and beyond.
I appreciate that, Joe. Thank you very much.
One of the challenges we've noticed in covering Alberta's baseball scene is trying to track where all the young talent is going stateside during the college season. Dozens of players are playing collegiate ball in the U.S. and doing some great things, but where do you even start? Kevin Wall runs the Twitter account @collegebaseball. Although the LL is replaced by a 1-2, it highlights some of the key performances every day by those Canadian kids. While it's still a relatively new account, we chatted with Kevin about its beginnings, the hopes and dreams, and what all goes into running cbplayers.com. Let's talk a little bit about the very beginnings of this idea of tracking the progress of players, Canadian-born, in the college ranks down south. Where did this idea come from, and what was the goal initially?
It started quite modestly. My son, when he was in high school, played baseball pretty much every day. If we weren't at practice, we were at games, and we got to meet a lot of cool people. Over the years, we came across lots of people and their kids, and we'd see each other every day at the park and on the travel circuit. And in that situation, we were meeting a lot of people. And when it came time to graduate high school, how are you going to follow these people? The kids were going all over the place. It turns out in the U.S., there's about 1,700 college-level schools. So if you wanted to follow the progress of these people you came to know, it was very difficult. I found myself going to a lot of different websites. Sometimes something happened, sometimes something didn't happen. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool with all these computers if I could somehow put in the players that I cared about, and then the system would tell me when one of these players I was tracking did something cool, maybe started a game, maybe hit a home run, maybe got signed up by a school, right, on a roster. So it got started modestly to track friends of our family and people who played baseball, and it kind of grew from there. So what we do now is we've expanded it to do all Canadians. So we check the rosters of 1,700 schools. When we find Canadians, we add them to a list. When these boys are playing in games and they do anything cool, we tweet if they have an achievement, and we make daily reports. And where this brings us is quite easily, each morning when I get up, I can have a cup of coffee, check my Twitter, see if anything cool happened, and go to one web page and see a daily report. Scan the report for the players I like and say, oh, John hit a home run. Oh, Steve started a game. And instead of me hunting for web pages, I can just go to one page and see everything there while I drink my coffee.
So is this something that you were able to put in, is it algorithms on websites, or how does that all work in the grand scheme of things?
Oh, good question. Well, first of all, it all runs on a little laptop, an older laptop that I have. But today in the software side, everything's very cool, right? Mm-hmm. These programs to do things, technology is pretty amazing now. So being able to run through, there was this professor at MIT, and he would drop his pen, and when it hit the ground, he'd say, there's 1 billion instructions. So these computers can rifle through data like crazy. Most of the time, who cares? I only care about the report. You know what I mean?
It's fascinating to me is watching the updates and that pour in on a daily basis like that. When it comes to tracking the players individually, how does that all work? How do you manage to input all the different players in? Is it a matter of you having to manually do it, or is there a way that there's an algorithm that tracks Canadian-born on each of the rosters?
More of an algorithm. So it's a proprietary algorithm I developed using very standard industry tools. I've had the benefit of a lot of good online instruction from a lot of courses and schools and what have you. And this is kind of like standard first-year computer science stuff. So if somebody goes to a computer science course today, they may learn languages like Python and tools like Pandas and other things. And what we're doing here is actually very, very simple. But like you said, it's very cool and I find practical because I myself am a very lazy guy, right? I like to drink coffee. And like you, I'm amazed when these tweets come in. Tweet, somebody hit a home run. Tweet, somebody's on a roster, right? And then I go to this report and I can see all their names, plays. If I like something, I can click on a link and get deep dive. And I can do this while I'm doing my real job and just as I'm having a cup of coffee.
Talk a little bit about the reaction to this tool, because I assume a lot of not just family and players enjoy it, but I assume there's probably a few scouts and that kind of thing who are able to track players through your site without actually needing to do their own legwork as well.
Well, it's still very new, right? But there has been a lot of sincere thanks from parents, right? Because the name of the game for us here is to promote Canadian achievement. So these Canadian boys, you know how hard it is to play college ball. You got to go to school, you're traveling. When you do something, it's a great relief, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It makes it all worthwhile. So my favorite reactions are when a player will usually make a correction, like send an email to cbplayers.com and say something like, you have my hometown wrong. And by the way, when I come back from practice, I like going to your site so I can catch up on my friends who are all over the place. So it's a quick way for them, even though they're friends and everything, just to see what their friends are doing without spending a lot of time. So the reaction has been very modest, but very sincere. Parents liking things, players liking things, some newspapers like yourself, like media outlets liking things. But it's all driven by what these players are doing is amazing. And our goal is to help make sure these amazing things can be recognized by people who want to follow it.
Does it surprise you at all to see the sheer number of Canadian kids that are playing ball stateside, or anything along the way that, as you've developed this, that has taken you by surprise, or you had that moment of, wow, didn't see that coming?
Well, to be honest, I'm pretty much surprised on a regular basis. Because when I started this, I didn't know anything about baseball college in the U.S., right? I had no idea, right? I thought there was NCAA. So then you start coming across all these organizations. So one of the first things that surprised me was how big college baseball is down in the States. 1,700 schools, 60,000 players. It's huge. And when I would go to the games, like, well, my son was in college, the passion fans have was the same that we had in high school. But, like, you know, people who love baseball and see what these kids are doing, whether it's in minor league or high school or college, it's amazing. So the passion and the care and how hard everybody worked, and to be honest, almost everybody's a nice guy, right? Like, everybody's working really hard. So what surprised me was how big it was and how similar people were, like in their love for baseball and watching it. And if you follow baseball, there's a lot of failure, right? You do strike out. You do make the error. Like, baseball's a grinding thing. So when you see these boys do things and persevere and come back the next year and the next year, the surprising thing is it's amazing and it's so common between people, and it's something I enjoy very much.
Talk a little about what the future might have in store. Have you ever thought about how it might expand or be refined, or anything that kind of is on your to-do list on this project in the years ahead?
We're just absorbing a big transition from a static website. Last year in 2018 season, we were running a blog with principally the same data, but it was static pages on a very difficult to find URL. So for 2019, we launched a new website, CB Players. CB is College Baseball, Charlie Bravo, cbplayers.com, where all of this stuff is interactive, like on a dashboard. So Canadian players have one page, and from there you can see every Canadian that's hit a home run, every pitcher that started a game. So in one simple click, so you don't have to be a technology expert, just got to know a web browser, go to a web page, and when you start seeing the names of the boys you know, the technology fades into the background, and you see the players, their pictures, their scores, and you remember how small they might have been. Now you look at their picture and you go, wow, 6'5". I remember him driving to the game. But so the big goal for 2019 is to absorb this, make sure that Twitter is, like, you know, is providing value to the followers. The website is clean and not technical. We want to upgrade the graphics. Right now our site's pretty challenged. We don't really have a nice logo. So we want to stylize it for 2019. And then for 2020, kind of goes beyond Canada, so to speak, but we also do other countries, right? We're doing Australia, Cuba. We can basically do any group of player on any criteria. So it leaves our promoting Canadian players a little bit. But say we wanted to know left-handed batters in junior college Division I, we could have all our reports doing just that. So you'd come to your website and see and it's what our mantra is here, your favorite players. Are they Canadians? Are they Albertans? Are they in a particular organization? It's your favorite players, not somebody else's. So you would be able to sign on to the website, pick your player criteria, either by name or by property, like where do they hail from, you know, what's their batting, whatever. Set your criteria, and then all of these reports would be only for your players. So that's where it's going. And we're pretty much there, but we're taking it one step at a time.
It's definitely a great Twitter account and a website to keep tabs on if you want to follow young Canadian baseball talent around the U.S. college ranks. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast and shedding some light on what goes into the process for you.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it, and good luck. I follow your website and Twitter. It's awesome. Thank you.
We want to once again thank Jordan Blundell at Prospects Academy and Kevin Wall at cbplayers.com for joining us on this week's edition of the podcast. If you want to help spread the word about us, make sure you leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. Let's try this. If you're listening to the podcast right now, head on over to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and tag us in a post showing where you're listening. Thanks again for supporting Alberta Dugout Stories in the podcast. We'll chat again next week.